So this is left-handed brioche knitting in 2 colours in 1 pass. So our 2-coloured brioche is a thick puffy rib in 2 different colours. We have our knit stitch columns, and then our ribs with the yarn overs give us this beautiful herringbone effect in the middle. When we flip it over to the other side, those pearls from the other side give us a grey column and we get red herringbones. So it's a beautiful reversible fabric. And traditionally it's knit all of your knit stitches, so in this case your red ones, you knit all across your reds, and then you come back to the start and purl all across your greys. But we're going to do this in 1 pass, so we're going to knit all the stitches at once, get it over and done with. Because we're doing it in 2 passes, you can see that every single one of these stitches has its own yarn over, whereas if you were doing it in 2 passes, only half of them would. And you would knit the ones with the yarn over and then come back and you'd have different yarn overs for your 2nd pass. But we've got a yarn over on everything with this. I've just started with a Chinese waitress cast on because I like it. It's still nice and stretchy and pretty and neat. And because it's reversible, it works well with this reversible fabric as well. So that's where we're at this point. Let's start making pretty things. So I hold 1 yarn in each hand. I have the pearl yarn in my right hand. In this case today it is grey, and my knit yarn in my left hand. So I'll be knitting continental style with my right hand and English with my left. Just going to slip this first stitch, try and keep things nice and neat over that way, and then we're ready to start with our knit stitch. Now the most important thing with this is to make sure that the yarns are in the right spot at the start of the stitch. So everything has to be in the front. So I'm going to get our pearl yarn there and our knit yarn there. Brilliant, everything is in the right spot. So we can get that pearl yarn out of the way if you like, otherwise just make sure that that needle is behind it. I'll pop it out of the way so you can see what's going on to start with. And so we're going to go into both of those stitches, so we're going to knit the stitch and the shawl together, what's known as a burk or a brioche knit stitch. We're going to wrap our knit stitch as normal and pull it back through. Now at this point, if we make sure that that needle is again behind that pearl yarn, that will just automatically give us a nice little yarn over for our knit stitch there. Then we're going to set up for our pearl stitch. So move our pearl yarn as well as our knit yarn around to the front and we're ready to go again. So in this case we're just going to go into the back of the pearl stitch like we usually would. So you can see this is a grey stitch with a red stitch over the top of it. So we're going to into that stitch to purl, wrap it and take it out behind as normal. Then we're ready to knit. Again, making sure that we're going in behind this pearl yarn here. So you can pop it out of the way if you like. Knit as usual. And we're going to make sure that we catch that pearl yarn on the way out so we get that yarn over there as well. So we'll move everything back to the front. And again, we have a pearl stitch wrapped as normal, and then making sure that that pearl yarn is to the front and the needle goes in behind it. We have our knit stitch, again wrapped. And make sure we catch that pearl yarn on the way out. So you get that nice rhythm when we start doing pairs of stitches. So we set up, and we do a pair, it's a pearl, and the knit. And that gives us a pearl stitch with a grey pearl stitch with our red yarn over, and then our red knit stitch with our grey yarn over. You get to feeling that each stitch requires you to move the pearl to the front and wrap the knit yarn around. So always move the pearls to the front and always wrap the knit yarn. It's just a different spot exactly where we pop our needle. So that's there. So we're still going to move the pearl yarn to the front and we're still going to wrap our knit yarn. So this time we're going to do the wrap before we put the needle in to do our pearl stitch. And this time we're going to do the wrap after we put the needle in to make our knit stitch. And because it's the same motion, it gives you a really nice rhythm. So move the yarns forward, pearl, yarn forward. Oh, had an extra yarn over in that one. And knit. Yarn forwards. Pearl, yarn forwards, and knit. Yarn forwards, pearl, yarn forwards, and knit. And just check that your yarns are in the right spot before you make your stitch. And just double check you've got a yarn over on every single one of those stitches on the way through. If it's popped off, so we've made our, we accidentally left our knit yarn at the back there for this pearl stitch. We've made that. Then we can come back and look at it and go, oh no, there's no yarn over. Good to keep an eye on each stitch because it's easy enough to go back and just pop it back in before you keep going. I just want to check that everything is beautifully doubled up. That's all there is to it. Finish up that edge there with a knit, just to keep things neat and tidy. But that is it. So what would be, say, rows A and B of a traditional 2-pass brioche method, all done in the 1 pass. Our yarns both end up at the same end of the work. So you figure out which ones you've just managed to knit next time you pick it up. It's also beautiful for knitting in the round because then you don't even have to stop and turn it over to go back. You just keep going and going and going and going. It's wonderful. That is it. 1 pass brioche done left-handed.